Hey everyone, welcome to episode 8 of Crouching Deadwood.
And hidden Nebari.
How's it going, Scott?
Yeah, man, it's been a great 2 days. Adrian's visiting from up north to Wellington, and yeah, we started working on trees yesterday right around 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, AM.
Black pines.
Black pines. We worked on Japanese black pine that I've had for 7 years. That's from Colin Churchill that used to live in Wellington. And when he departed Wellington, a lot of the collection ended up with Samuel Brierley. And that's the gentleman that I procured this black pine from.
Yeah, and it's showing some good age now.
Yeah, it's structurally come along a bit differently after the work yesterday. The tree had been in the Wellington show last year. Yesterday, we decided to move a significant branch to really reveal a lot more movement through the trunk line. And then Adrian went to town and reset the structure, really. And yeah, we were both really excited how that turned out.
Yeah, a lot of needle balancing, a lot of needle work through the black pines. We've worked through 3 black pines now, eh?
3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Because that one today that I wired and styled.
Because now's the time, autumn. Needle balancing, reduction in needles, balancing the energy, laying out that structure, getting some elegance in those branch lines.
I think I asked you a good question earlier in regards to is there any pine that we wouldn't do this kind of needle pruning to in the first week of March in the South Pacific?
Yeah. And my response was Koematsu, Japanese white pine.
Yeah.
So that's where we don't come in and reduce a lot of needles. Definitely keeping a bunch of last year's needles on the tree. Whereas black pine, radiata, those multi-flush, we can come in and reduce a lot more needle, including last year's needles and leaving those current this year's needles on. But you don't want to do that to a white pine or too much to a mugo either.
Or a Scots?
Yeah, you need to leave a bit of needle count, older needles on the Scots too, but they can tolerate more needle removal, especially if it's quite dense and ramified.
Yeah.
Because that needle reduction, there's still a lot of foliage left remaining. But white pine, you can weaken quite severely if you were to pluck too many of last year's needles. So keep a bunch of those around.
Yep.
What I usually do is just pluck the underneath of last year's needles on a white pine, and that keeps, and then just keep the upper. Yeah, if you've got a really highly ramified older Japanese white pine with a lot of foliage and a lot of shoots to work with, and it's quite dense, then you can, like I said to you today, I do remove probably more needles than you probably safely should on some of my white pines. But that's because of, I know the aftercare.
And you know how far you could push them, manipulate it,
And I'm trying to achieve different things at different stages.
But, we'll look into it, and if we can download in the comment section here on YouTube, I'll add some photos of the trees we're discussing so you could find the visual interest that we've been discussing.
Yeah, it's been a lot of pine work so far, eh?
Yeah, I just kind of get into that mode, and we had today. Go back into the second tree was another Japanese black pine.
The literati.
Yeah, the literati.
Yeah. So where did that come from?
Keith Lowe.
Keith Lowe.
Yeah.
A legend, eh? A legend who has passed a few months back.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was the operator of California Garden Centre here in Wellington.
Yeah, and the patron of the Wellington Bonsai Club that started in 1980.
Oh, really? Is that when it started, 1980? Yeah. What else were we going to chat about today?
I'll go back to what you saw when you looked over the trees when you arrived yesterday.
Oh, yeah. We were going to talk about environmental aging on trees.
Yeah. So you were here in Wellington in mid-November last year. So
was that 3 months ago?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
And now I'm back in autumn. and it's only been 3 months, but the remarkable bark development on some of your trees since I was here 3 months ago, it kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
And that is due to
heavy
Wellington winds.
Yeah.
Just flexing those trees and non-stop. So that kind of is an interesting topic to talk about, where you've got a tree that's not necessarily literally physically old in terms of years, but it's aging visually dramatically quickly due to the environmental stresses that are acting on it where your garden's located.
That first Japanese black pine that we were discussing, I was told when I got it like 7-ish years ago that it was over 60 years old, which I can neither confirm or deny. But we talk about age to go like, how's it going to look? What do you expect at particular times? But I would guesstimate the tree's age is actually between 50 and 30 years old, because I feel like I've learned a lot more in that 7 years. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think between, maybe around 20, 25 years old-ish, that tree, judging by the bark character that has developed on it. But again, it's interesting because a tree can be in a really protected garden and not be under that sort of environmental stress and not age as quickly as some of your pines that are up higher, for instance, even seedlings, getting smashed consistently by the wind, and that bark developing low down on the trunks. You look at some of that bark and think, "Whoa, this tree's got some age to it." So, wait, it's only like a 6 or 7 year old tree, maybe.
Yeah, I think I even have some
comparatively to a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old tree in a very sheltered spot that's slowly developing bark. It's sometimes hard to judge the age of a tree.
So as much as I get frustrated by the winds being so excessive in Wellington, the big benefit is they help us create bark character
and age. But also the key thing to remember, and I talk about this all the time on my travels, is really not the literal age of a tree. Because there's been so many scenarios where we've been presented with a 50-year-old, say, maple, or a 50-year-old, usually a deciduous tree, and then we've gone, okay, that's actually 50 years old from seed. But it looks like a sort of teenage year tree. Look, it only looks like a teenager in tree terms. And then you get a 15-year-old maple that's been worked really well, highly ramified, good flare at the base, and it's been designed well. And that tree is, say, 10 to 15 years old, but looks 50 to 60 years old. And you're comparing it to a tree that's actually 50 years old, and it kind of only looks about 20. So what we want to shoot for with bonsai is it doesn't matter how old the tree is. If it's 15 years old, we want to try and make it look sort of 3 times that.
Right.
So if your tree is actually 50 years old, you kind of want that to be designed in a way that alludes to it being 100.
Right.
Rather than having a 50-year-old tree that kind of only looks 20. But that kind of comes into the topic about, tree pricing, and we won't get into that. But, some people will pay quite high prices for a tree that is actually old, but it doesn't design-wise look very old. And that 9 times out of 10 be better off paying slightly less for a younger tree that actually looks older because it's been designed well. But that's a whole other story that we probably won't get into, because tree pricing, beauty is in the eye of the beholder,
right?
Et cetera, et cetera.
There's people out there that I know that buy like $300 bottle of wine, and other people that are like 30 is too much. So I guess we have to justify our expenditures in this interesting world economy.
When the wine is in the glass, it's hard to know how old it is unless you saw the bottle. Is this an expensive wine or El Cheapo? You'll probably never know unless I move the camera over.
Looking at our list.
Oh, I know what we should talk about. The other pine we worked on today, which is that Pinus radiata aurea, golden radiata, that we worked on, one of Scott's trees today. And it's a slim trunked literati style tree, but we had a lot of fun with that, didn't we?
Yeah. We had done some informal studies through walks in the forest that are right by our flat in Wellington. And one side of the forest are ponderosa pines, and the other side were radiata pines. And we had seen through many of them, there's a lot of really jagged Z's in the tree.
Yes, super harsh angle changes in the branch lines, like actual literal Z's. So big upright trunks with a bit of wind influence further up, but the actual primary branch lines were like huge angle changes and actual literal Z shapes in the branches and when you really study those, because it's a real radiata thing, because the ponderosas don't do that. They're more curved.
Yeah, very rounded, the ponderosa.
Yeah, very rounded and sinuous. And that comes into play when we look at some of the guys pulling out collecting those incredible, really old ponderosas in the US, snaking with a lot of deadwood, but they're very sinuous.
Yeah.
But the radiatas are super angular up in those branches when they're wind influenced. Real harsh angle changes. But when you look at it, you can see where it was a straight branch and it was just snapped off. And the next the bud or the shoot has shot off in another direction.
Yeah.
And it's just snapped off again, because you can see where it's like either there's a little bit of deadwood on the elbow, where it's just like snapped, or it's still got a shary point to it, and it's changed direction really abruptly from the wind pushing it back. Then it's happened again, and it's just like super angular. So we recreated that in this gold radiata.
How many Z's did we have?
We put a lot of bends into this tree. It's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting tree. Then we discussed, we started talking about, okay, you should show this tree at some point in the future.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about the ceramic. And so thinking, okay, golden radiata, Pinus radiata aurea, with the gold yellow flicks to the needles in a really quite bright red ceramic.
Yeah, kind of like a fire engine, right?
Like a fire engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has anyone seen a golden radiata displayed like that? It'll be a head turner for sure.
Yeah, I hear a couple people in the United States are been working with different glazed pots with conifers, and I think it's way overdue. Like just using the color wheel to help select like your pots matching your like fall colors, or like if it's a conifer, like having that contrast from the other side of the color wheel is like always a win.
I mean, color theory is super, super fun. I studied color theory really in depth at art school.
Yeah,
I found it so interesting. But when it comes to bonsai, like, we've talked about this, wanting to see something a bit more audacious, but obviously well presented, but really going to perhaps hold the viewer in front of that tree and go, ooh, like, I can't help but look at this. Do I like it? Do I not? But, that golden leaf, very fine needle on a big like a large tall literati with these angular changes, very subtle golden, sort of almost feminine needle quality, but then a fire red pot playing off the yellow.
Yeah,
it's certainly going to stop you and go, ooh, do I like that? Do I hate it? Do I love it? I would like to see a little bit more of that in bonsai.
Yeah, we were talking
here in New Zealand in shows.
Yeah, that'll be really great.
Don't play it too safe.
Yeah, I think we play it safe when that's the best decision
totally.
for the pairing, and we get maybe more experimental when it just feels right.
Yeah, and I want to see those. I like to see those maybe more experimental compositions in a show here in Aotearoa. I like to see that pushing of the boundary, hopefully, and maybe a more contemporary display. But I sort of talked about this with you today. Nothing too on the nose or too obvious. Not to go back to the golden radiata and the red pot. I mean, that's a different thing. But compositionally, we've seen people, I guess, get a bit experimental in shows, but it's been a little bit too literal for my taste, what they're trying to convey conceptually. So if you do look at the Japanese aesthetic and then that wabi-sabi and the light shadow, the shadow play, and what's not there is where the viewer has to fill in the beautiful blank. It's the negative space or what's not in the composition that's going to perhaps make a contemporary display more successful, maybe.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, because I've just noticed with a few contemporary displays, it's sort of laid out quite obviously what they're trying to say conceptually with visual cues that are a little bit too on the
interpretation. It's like all just
not really. I mean, you look at it and go, okay, here's a contemporary display. I see that they're trying to do something different, but it's kind of all right laid out there. And I see it and go, okay, I see what they're trying to say. And you sort of move to the next tree. But if you could put on a contemporary display that's pushing the aesthetic boundaries compared to a traditional display, but you're like posing a question to the viewer and you're leaving elements out so that the viewer has to fill in the space.
Yeah, it allows the viewer to participate in the interpretation.
Yeah.
Rather than it's just like, oh, that's what's
similar to a song and the lyrics might be slightly ambiguous, or the artist has written the lyrics and you decipher what they're saying and you sort of input what they're saying and their personal experience into your personal experience when you hear a song and you connect with the song, you connect with the lyrics. You might think that person is singing about this, that, or the other, usually love and love not working 9 times out of 10, or any number of things, but you can apply the lyrics to you or you fill in the gaps and it feels like it's yours.
It's how it's relational.
It feels, many times it's like I relate to that song. It's like they're singing about what the experience I'm going through currently, and you can apply that to yourself. And it's a similar thing with leaving aspects out in a bonsai display, or that wabi-sabi light shadow, letting the viewer fill in the gaps, because then the viewer connects in to the tree and makes it a little bit more their part of the display, because they have to come up with the rest of the sentence that's missing.
Engaging with the viewer.
That's right.
We've been discussing a lot about like design and displays and accents yesterday and today, because we have 3 shows this year in the North Island. So that's something I speak about with the people in the Waikanae Deadwood Society, people in the Wellington Bonsai Club, and Adrian's been discussing with his clients throughout New Zealand as well.
Yes, we do need to get trees ready for showtime for anyone who's going to submit trees. And there should be hopefully lots of you out there that are in New Zealand and have nice trees. Get them prepped and get them sent in to, what's the website, Scott, for the national show? Poster.
Hold on. I've got a poster right here.
What's this, Scott?
Here, I'll pass it over to you so you're a little bit more centered.
New Zealand Bonsai Expo. I'm reading this backwards. 2026.
Can you read us it say down here something?
Oh, what does this say? NZ Bonsai Expo.nz. Get your entries in now.
Submitting trees. There's a pottery competition.
Nice picture of Jonas here from Bonsai Tonight.
Look at that guy.
Handsome young man there.
I'm sure he's ready for New Zealand.
Very knowledgeable. He's ready for New Zealand. He's ready to take NZ on.
Yeah, and we have that show coming up.
Whose tree is this?
Yes, Wellington Club. Whose tree is that?
Is that going to be in the show?
I hope so.
It's got quite a nice movement in Deadwood.
I want to not touch it. That Wellington show is October 9th. So we still have 214 days until the party starts. They'll also have a suiseki competition and a photographic competition. I'm hearing bits and information as it kind of develops in regards to interaction with the NZBA. But my understanding up to this point is the Wellington Club is putting on their show, and there's separate activities at the event center that are a New Zealand Bonsai Association.
All in the same building.
All in the same building.
Right.
Yeah.
And the workshops on the Monday, Tuesday with Jonas.
Yep.
So that'll be fantastic. If you want Jonas to look at your trees and give you some good advice, that'll be
get
great.
You sorted.
He will get you
I
sorted.
guess since we're on the topic of that, we'll backtrack from 214 days from today to the Hamilton show, which is September 11th and 12th at the Hamilton Botanical Gardens, same location the club has it at each year, and it's 186 days away. Great vendors. Adrian judged the show last year and gave it some really good remarks as it's really leveling up, and that club is always pursuing better practice with displaying their trees.
Yeah. Hamilton, always doing good things. Passionate club, Hamilton. Join up if you're in Hamilton area or north or south of Hamilton.
Yeah.
Join their club.
We'll be running a Crouching Deadwood Hidden Nebari Q&A as we get more details like on the dates and times. We'll share those closer to the event. And then in June 12th and 13th, in 95 days, we have the Camus show with the Auckland Bonsai Society. And it sounds like there's some exciting things that I would like to share with the event with you, but I've been asked to hold on until everything gets clarified. So in perhaps episode 9, I'll have some more fun information to share about that event with all of you. But yeah, another really fun show. So it's exciting. We have 3 shows, and it'll be really interesting to see who chooses what show to go to. And
hopefully South Islanders make some trips up.
That'd be really cool.
Would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening in the South Island in the next?
I'm not aware of any shows in the South Island.
Maybe next year. 2027 might be South Island's time.
Yeah. It's so we were talking about this the other day because we like bonsai a lot and we're in New Zealand. A couple of years ago, and not like as 2002, like was it after COVID? They split up the national show into a smaller show on the North Island and a smaller show on the South Island. And I actually think that's a more logical approach at it. So the shows become more regional. And I've kind of picked that up from listening to Eric Schrader and Jonas Dupuy's discussions about their event, the Pacific Bonsai Expo. They've been putting a lot of hard work into it, and they've been developing it rather quickly. So their focus, and they feel like having regional shows is a lot more successful way to look at things, and then it makes it more accessible to people rather than, like for instance, in North America, travel. Going to the national show, if you're in California, you're not going to want to take a week off maybe or less on both sides of the event. It's expensive travel fees and hotels and...
Well, you got to cross state lines.
Yeah.
Getting your trees across state lines.
Yeah. And some states have regulations.
That's a bit tricky.
Others don't,
We don't have that problem here in New Zealand.
No.
You've just got to get your tree over on the Inter-Islander.
Yeah.
Smuggle it on the plane.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're up to next weekend?
Oh, going to Nelson?
Yes.
Yes, to Nelson Bonsai Club.
Yeah.
Very excited about that because last time I was travelling down to the Nelson Club, flying from Auckland, we got over halfway to Nelson, and then the pilot said we have to quickly turn the plane around due to engine issues. And I thought, we're closer to Nelson, can't we just keep going to Nelson and land? Then I can have a good time doing bonsai.
Yeah.
But no, we had to turn the plane around, drive all the way back to Auckland. So that didn't work out. But next weekend I'll be in Nelson again.
And you're going to see Mark and
I'll
John.
be super excited to catch up with all of them and, see what's been happening with them tree-wise because it's been a while. Excited to see what's going on down there because these people in Nelson, they've got access and have got good trees.
Were you saying they've got some pretty world-class collected trees?
Some amazing collected trees, both native and exotics.
Oh, cool.
That I can't wait to see again. So super excited about that.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk to you about something else, and I've probably just lost what it was going to be.
Was it about the Nelson Club?
No, it was about
collecting
your trees, actually. Oh, no, it was about, when we first started chatting tonight.
Yeah.
We were talking about how your trees, I hadn't seen them for 3 months, and they had piled on the bark and the carrot.
Yeah.
Through that environmental stressor of the Wellington winds. But also, I noticed that your trees had vastly improved in health in terms of needle and foliage colour. And I wanted you to talk to everyone listening about what your fertilising regime has been. Because there's been, and also the positioning of your trees, because there's been a big turnaround in the health of your trees in the last 3 months. And it's a combination of a few factors.
Some of them have been moved to an area where they have more shelter. They're still in heavy winded area, but they're just slightly more sheltered than they were at last year. And I'm on my second year of using Seacliff's Organics calcium magnesium. I use that every 2 weeks. And then in the weeks in between, I use the Seacliff Organics silicon, and I use that as a foliar and a drench. And the particular radiata the golden radiata that we worked on today, it's reduced needle size. It's looked reduced, but from the prior year, we're probably like right around 2 centimeters. And this year, the growth was closer to 5.5 centimeters.
Yeah. It's certainly pushed strongly.
Yeah.
It's been a big turnaround for you. So that's a combination of having trees in a location that was not sheltered enough for some of those species, being in windy Wellington and up, on the side of Mount Vic and getting bashed by those winds, moving with some of those and protecting them. So, because we're sort of worked out with the way your liquid feed anyway, is probably going on to the substrate and soaking in a bit, but being whipped out by the wind and dried off by the wind sometimes before the tree really even has time to pull that in.
Yeah.
I think that was a problem. So change of position, but also, that regular fertilizing regime. So let's repeat that for anyone who's listening. Scott's been going 1 week with silicon, and the next week following up with calcium magnesium.
Yep.
This is from Seacliff
Organics
in
Seacliff Organics.
Dunedin.
Yes.
Yeah. So we should find them online. And what's their is that seaclifforganics.co.nz?
Yes, Seacliff Organics.
So maybe have a look at their website.
They have a lot of useful tools
stuff
for us when it comes to nutrition management.
And while I've been here the last 2 days working with you on your trees, you have also, now that it's autumn, you've started replacing with organic pellets.
Yep.
And that's Dalton's
organic lifter.
Organic dynamic lifter.
Yes.
Yeah, which is you can get that from Bunnings or Mitre 10. That tends to quite quickly help a tree. After a couple of days, that's breaking down into the substrate, and you usually see quite a dramatic difference. Well, not a dramatic difference, but you can see quite a quick uptake of those nutrients.
And I've just been using the granular organics in spring and autumn for over like 5 years.
So that's the small round.
Yeah,
pellets.
I pull those off in summer to reduce like length of internodes and not overcharge them with too much nutrients.
In spring.
Yeah. And then the only thing that I keep them on in the winter are red and black pines.
Yeah. Definitely. I probably should remind people of this, because some that are just getting into bonsai might forget. But if you don't have much time to fertilise your trees, or you forget to fertilise them, at the very least, autumn is the time specifically for conifers, but deciduous as well. All your trees really. If you forget to fertilise them, at least through autumn or fall, fertilise them.
Yeah, that really sets it up for really.
You'll have more success then than if you're throwing the fert on in spring. So I think there's a bit of a tendency to think, okay, it's spring, fertilise, and your trees are coming out of dormancy, and they're going to push anyway. But you're going to throw fert on them if you're trying to build a trunk. Fair enough. If you're trying to build some really strong growth, then throw it on, fertilise heavily in spring by all means. But it's sort of more important to fertilise in autumn for a lot of species. The conifers are putting their energy into the cambium layer now, and then they're going to build their strength through winter, get through that cold patch, come out the other side and push. Yeah, and it's particularly if you've got multi-flush pines and you're thinking of decandling them next season, get that fertilising on through fall, through autumn and winter, so that on the other side it's going to push strong. Yeah, and then you can decandle knowing the result you're going to get because you've got a strong tree, because you fertilised well through autumn.
And with nutrition management, it's really like tough code to crack. And
for sure,
make it work for every tree, because they all have different needs. And if any of you out there in New Zealand or anywhere in the world can contact your local university, and if they have an agronomy department, they're people that you want to be friends with, so we could better understand plant biology and what we need to look for in regards to excesses and deficiencies. It's an avenue that I'm just starting to open a door on, and as things become more clear to me and I understand them, I'll be glad to share what I'm learning with the rest of you.
Yeah, that's great.
Tomorrow, what do we have going on? Day 3 of trees.
Oh, I can't wait.
We have that exposed root Japanese black pine.
Yes.
We'll work rework the Deadwood area.
Yeah.
And style that tree. I have one of those taller Japanese black pines that I got from John in Helensville. I'll go ahead and needle prune that and wire that tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, nice.
And then we had that
dwarf yew, Texas.
Yeah.
You know that Japanese Texas?
The Japanese dwarf.
Yeah, dwarf Texas. Super fine leaves on this Texas. Really fine, very slow growing.
3 to 4 millimeter?
Yeah, really beautiful, rich dark green colour to the foliage.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun tree to look at.
And then I also have that other Japanese yew that we could probably go on and prune. And
show him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
We potted that last year and it's just exploded. We were comparing.
Oh yeah, that actually reminds me of talking about, perhaps talking to your local university or soil scientists, etc. That reminded me of your mountain beech that you have that your friend, I think Caroline, collected.
Yeah, Caroline.
Yeah, and that sort of reminded me about beech, because I've been testing the varieties of beech up in our garden in Mangawhai in Northland.
Yep.
Because for a long time I've been told by some long time with like older growers of bonsai that beech are just too hard for bonsai here in New Zealand. And I know there's many people growing a native beech successfully.
Yeah. Caroline's got like 20.
Yeah. What I've found is that they do really well. They do love the fertilizer and the mycorrhizal content, the fungal content of the soil. So if you're thinking of, or indeed you are growing any of the native beeches, black beech, mountain beech, silver beech, hard beech, red beech, and they're struggling, no matter your location, the key thing I've found is having it in a reasonably open substrate, maintaining good moisture level, not letting them dry out, even though, say, mountain beech can handle drying out a bit more than silver beech. Silver beech loves the moisture. It's like a totara. The more I keep this, and they do grow in the wetter areas of the mountain, and the mountain beeches are sort of slightly drier slopes. Yeah. So it makes sense, but yeah, don't let your silver beech dry out, but also don't let any of your beeches fully dry out, but really fertilize heavily, get that fungal content, that mycorrhizal content in the substrate pumping. If you got mushrooms popping out in the surface, I've noticed over the last few years, the mushroom head will pop out, and then a few days later, your beech will just push. There's strong growth, which then you can come in and cut back to a set of leaves if you don't want that extension. But I have noticed that if you keep that nutrition content in the container with the beech, Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No,
I just wanted to touch on that because the beech are just such a beautiful species, all of the beeches. I particularly love the silver beech. It's just beautiful. But I'm having reasonably, I'd say, good success now with them. I think maybe some of the failure in the past and why we haven't seen a lot of really fantastic, in particular larger grunty beeches in shows and stuff over the years is maybe that it's a combination of not getting the substrate right in the container and not fertilizing enough and getting that microbiome in the container.
Would you agree with beech, particularly that it's really important to have a coarse aeration layer of substrate before you go to your smaller particles? Because then they're not going to get too wet.
Yeah, I mean that sort of rings true for most species, but yeah, you want that drainage layer, if it's coarse, down the bottom of the container to not be too much because you don't want it to be too coarse. Yeah, key thing is maintaining even moisture throughout and just not letting it dry out. My experience anyway.
Have you seen any
in Northland? Yeah.
Have you seen any healthy beech bonsai in New Zealand that were being grown in organics substrate?
I have actually. I can't say they're amazing specimens or anything, but they're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've repotted some that were in organics and they had hardly any roots.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, that's been my experience throughout New Zealand for quite a while, regardless of the species.
Yeah.
Is that trees have been not performing in my opinion, like they should be, not having that tight, beautiful foliage that they should have by this point in time if they've been in a container for that amount of time, X amount of years, 20 years or 30 years, however long. You can see that the foliage is not tight enough or healthy enough, which then means that when the artist is coming in and making the moves and stylistically, the response isn't great. And so they've tended to back off and do less. And then, of course, maybe design-wise, the tree isn't as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And that does boil down to substrate a lot of the time. When we go to repot, and I can tell before I've even taken it out of the container, but we take it out and it's, that old school pea metal, the little chip, that grey or red pea metal thing, that gravel chip mixed in with a potting mix, which has fully broken down to mud and it's just a slurry. And like you say, you take it out of the pot and it smells and it's root rot. And then you go, well, the owner goes, oh, okay. and then you just get it into an open substrate.
To balance the water and oxygen.
And then within a year or two, the tree is just thriving. We can come in then and really style the tree, and the foliage improves, etc., etc. Yeah.
I'll prepare some notes for another day. We could talk more about substrate and kind of just go through not trying to suggest what people have to use, but just kind of report on what we've seen, because there are a lot of ways that will work.
Definitely, there's so many different ways. There's just so much to. It's always that huge conversation. Substrates in the container.
The ginkgo,
but we can go there.
The ginkgo that I potted up in 100% dynamic lifter is still alive.
Holy, I was going to ask you about that.
So it's not even in substrate; it's in
full
organic fertilizer pellets.
How long till that breaks down into reed seed?
I would imagine it would be soon. The percolation is slowing down, so I know it will.
So how long has it been in that for?
Over 6 months.
6 months.
But
the percolation is starting to...
Yeah, it's slowing down.
Oh, man. Yeah. We like to test things here. So why not test growing something in 100% fertilizer?
Yeah.
You don't know till you try.
As a ginkgo...
We can take a guess what's going to happen, but we need to see what's actually happening.
Yeah. We'll take some photos or maybe even...
So tech.
What else would you like to discuss today, sir?
I don't know. That sort of covers everything.
Yeah, we shared a little bit about what we're excited about tomorrow. We've been working indoors and with the windows open to cool things off, and our Devon Rex Hanzos had fun sitting on my lap and watching one of us or both of us wire and just like...
Oh, yeah, Scott's cats, they're into it. They're very into it. Yeah. My travel now is jumping off.
Yeah, so your travel season just started, right?
Quite a lot of travel now around NZ, looking after and helping people with their collections. But in between that, doing my videos for my online subscription channel.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you mind telling the listeners and viewers a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure there's people out there that are unfamiliar with what you have offered.
Yeah. Some self-promo.
Sure, I mean, I think
no hard sells here.
We've got the people that are listening that are people who are interested in...
Yeah, totally. If you're interested in learning about New Zealand bonsai online, then you can go to my website, adrianbirdbonsai.com, and subscribe to my channel for $14 a month. And you'll get good info about bonsai, both exotic and New Zealand natives.
And the quality of the videos have been really cool, and
cool.
I'm really grateful that you're taking the time out of your life to put them together, because it doesn't happen fast.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's fun, though, but it is a lot of work. So
must be
go and subscribe if you want to. Yeah, go and subscribe on my website.
Do you have newer features that you're planning on adding sometime this year?
Yeah, definitely. I've still got to get the forum going, so you can upload your trees and we can critique them. Stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Because you can't be at everybody's garden, so it'll be good to pull it onto that platform to make it accessible to more people.
I'm still working on replicating myself. It's not going so well yet.
I'll ask our neighbors that are
vampires. I've been looking at Clonex.
Oh, our neighbors that are vampires can probably help you with that.
Yeah, that does tie us into the next conversation. We are on the lookout for any vampires, because I've got these trees I'm creating and I need to live for about 2,000 years minimum to see the result of some of these natives that some of my Coldy trees. I need to know what they're going to look like in about 2,000 years. So if there's any vampires out there in the audience that can come along and
I'm looking for local qualified vampires. I'm very tidy. I have good oral hygiene. I'm punctual, and I could be eternal. Do
vampires really care about that sort of thing?
Have you ever seen
yes, hygiene? They do. Yeah, no.
Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you see
So yeah,
that,
just putting that out there, we are trying to become vampires. We need that longevity to see some of our projects through. Having said that, we realised that starting a seed now and never seeing the actual mature specimen is also just the way it is, and it's the journey, not the destination.
yeah, making something creative and interesting that keeps the
That
F
your
word
children's
in our life
children's
fun.
children will enjoy. So, I guess that kind of wraps it up. And
Thanks for listening.
the learning
and
never stops.
if you have any questions or comments, you could add them there on YouTube, and we'll do our best to get to them quickly. And thanks for listening and watching, and have a great week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you later.
See ya. Cha-ching.